Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Saturday. I think I'm gonna wait a little bit, just vibe. Got my headphones on. I got some jams playing. These niggas are on, but screw it, because I need to. It's Friday, and in order to do this stream, I need to have some musical inspiration because I'm gonna go in and just as a disclaimer, I've tried to send this channel out and advertise this channel to other people in the Ummah, and I noticed, especially even scholars and imams and sheikhs, and none of them have gotten back to me. Now, I give a bit of the doubt they could be very, very busy. At the same time, I think they see my material and they're kind of turned off. And the reason they're turned off is because I'm very, very critical about the state of the Ummah. And I'm very critical about the sectarianism, and I'm very critical about the ulama and so-called scholars. Very critical, and I have to be, because no, it doesn't seem like anybody else is. It doesn't seem like anybody else is. Like we got people dealing with suicide, zina, getting teenage pregnancy, depression, anxiety, especially the youth, and nobody's talking about it. Everybody's just like, oh, just listen to the Quran, and everything's good. And granted, the Quran is miraculous. It does have miraculous qualities, but that's just not it. That's just a cop-out from having a serious conversation about depression, suicide, and stuff like that. Because especially now that Ummah lives in the West, and that Western culture is basically international culture, globalist culture, right? Now it's being exposed more, and we don't know what to do with it. It's just like we're kind of ashamed. It's like the freaking skeleton in the closet. Everybody closes the skeleton in the closet, but everybody knows somebody that's committed suicide. Everybody knows somebody that has committed zina. Everybody knows somebody that's dealing with depression, addiction, all this other kinds of stuff, right? And they just said that the cure is just do the Quran and Sunnah. And granted, that should be the basis of everybody that's in the deen, right? Or anybody that's in the Ummah. However, conversations have to happen. And the youth need to, and I think one of the biggest reasons that's that is the youth don't have a reason to express themselves. You look at, especially modern history, when youth culture got big was because youth were dealing with, 2 world wars, the Cold War, and all these crazy changes that they were going through. And they needed to express themselves, so they created, there was the blues, jazz, rock and roll, hip hop, being the last incarnation. And I'm very critical about the state of the music industry and what the message that music has. But one thing that you cannot deny is that music has helped people through tough times more than, unfortunately, religion has. I'm gonna be completely honest. Music helped me through my teenage years like crazy. I used to be a Christian. Going to church didn't help me. Reading the Bible didn't help me. And there's probably Muslim youth that feel the same way. They need an outlet, and every outlet that they have is considered haram. And hey, I'm not going to diss the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he's decreed whatsoever, or any of the prophets. However, unfortunately, I live in the real world, right? You got to have the lesser of two evils. Do you want your kids to make music and express themselves, or do you want them to not have a way to express themselves and they get frustrated? And then so, number one, that leads to radicalization, because ISIS and all these terrorist groups, they have a way of funneling the disillusionment of the youth, right? These terrorist groups, these radical groups have a way of channeling it. And some of it is based in the Quran and Sunnah. Nobody wants to admit it, but some of it is based in Quran and Sunnah. So they have these youth that are frustrated with the political situation, the social situation, the economic situation of their countries. They have a way to express themselves through that, right? Because, music is haram, but jihad, it's not, right? So you got a bunch of guys saying, oh, okay, I'm just losing everything else. I might as well just go to jihad. Especially, God forbid, look at Palestine, bro, or Syria, or some of these countries like Yemen. All these countries are going through wars right now. Imagine you live in poverty, you live in an occupation or oppressive regime, and everybody's telling you, oh, you can't make music about it. You know what I'm saying? You can't express yourself. Keep it to yourself and stuff like that. and how much rage builds up inside of you. You don't have any opportunities in life and stuff like that. Hey, your life may actually end up dying abruptly. You know what I'm saying? There's been intifadas and revolutions and all this other kind of stuff, right? So especially that's why I look at the Black community, like the Black condition. That's the reason we came out with so many different popular forms of music. It was us expressing ourselves in our pain and suffering. And granted, some of it may have inspired negative behavior, but a lot of it helped us persevere through the pain and suffering. If you look at especially like R&B, hip hop, the blues, a lot of that came from very oppressive environments. I mean, jazz came from New Orleans, which was a very, racial, diverse city. But at the same time, there was like that Southern racism that was really, basically segregating them out of society. You also had, the blues. It came from the Mississippi Delta region. That was infused with a lot of pain about sharecropping. The depression of the situation that those people were in. And hip hop, of course, being the urban experience, more or less, of inner city youth and stuff like that, the disillusionment they had with the opportunities that their parents said they were supposed to have, with the Great Migration, things like that. So I think it's really critical that the so-called ulama goes out of their way to criticize, the youth and their haircuts, the youth and the way they dress, the youth and their music. And granted, yeah, some of those things are problematic, but you got to give the youth an alternative. And what's your alternative? Just going back over to the same old things like that have been happening like for thousands of years? It may work for some people, but some people it may not work. I wish it worked for me. I wish I could wear a robe, grow a freaking beard down to my dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, and do nothing but be the most pious person, never listen to music, never, always lower my gaze, recite Quran all day, know every hadith front to back. I wish I could be that. I may never be that way. I try my very best. Don't get me wrong. And I could try even better, in my opinion, right? But I'm just trying to make it through the situation that I'm at hand, man. People don't know what you've gone through, but people want to tell you how to live your life and how to expound on the pain and heal yourself, man. Therapy helps, spirituality helps, but also I need to be able to express how I feel. Is there any Muslim slam poetry? Like, if you say music is haram, okay, well, if you're going to allow people to form music bands, get into artistic creativity, you don't want people to draw paintings and stuff like that because they depict Allah's creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, then hey, let that be said, right? But are you providing an alternative to those children? Are you providing those children to the youth? And I talk about it so much, and the nerve of some people, they get super defensive about it. They act like everything's fine. I mean, and everything's so fine, and they wonder why, the youth, Muslim youth, especially in Europe, are falling victim to radicalization. I'm going to be honest, music and art could be the biggest deterrent against radicalization, because they're not listening to their so-called scholars. They're not listening to their sheikhs. Now, there are some sheikhs that are radicalizing them, don't get me wrong, but they're not listening to them. They're listening to a guy that has been radicalized through the experiences of, maybe a Guantanamo Bay detainee, maybe somebody that survived, a U.S.-led coup that destroyed his country and stuff like that. And he's able to get more clout than you. Why is he able to do that? Why is some guy that has no name for himself, that maybe did, a couple bombings or something like that, able to captivate the youth more than the sheikh? Kind of like in the inner city youth, that nobody listens to the pastor anymore. Because what is the pastor doing is to heal the inner city youth. What is the pastor? Is he funding youth programs to get them off the street? Is he funding artistic programs for them to express themselves? No. So guess who they're going to listen to? They're going to listen to the local gangbanger who's like, hey, I got you, homie. I love you. Your parents don't love you. Your parents don't understand you. They think you're a weirdo. You can't stand being at home anyway because there's always arguing and fighting and it's unsafe. Hey, I'll give you a job. I'll give you money in your pocket. I make you feel important. I'll make sure the girls like you. You don't know how to talk to girls. I'll teach you how to talk to girls. Even me, my pops is not a gangbanger or anything like that, but I didn't learn anything about relationships, women, anything like that. I had to learn all that on my own because my dad, unfortunately, also used to hit my mom. So everything I learned about relationships was very dysfunctional. Yeah, I will admit it, man. Yeah, I'll drop a link in the chat. Nice to see you here. I just feel really passionate about this. I gotta get this off my chest. So the squeeze into the title, dealing with inner frustration and hopelessness. I feel a lot of this goes onto so-called leadership. If you claim you're a leader and you're not providing opportunities to the next generation to not make the same mistakes that we're making, or you're making, better yet, then we're lost. We're lost forever. Especially the black community. That's what really happened in the U.S. The civil rights movement guys, they got all bougie. They sucked dick with the Democratic Party, and then pretty much it went on from there. The family was just destroyed. Everybody, and nobody cared because as long as they're making money, nobody's talking about it, right? I'm gonna say names. Jesse Jackson, Ralph Sharpton. You know what I mean? The guy that was the senator of Baltimore. He said, what I'm talking about. All these guys, they basically elevate themselves through the civil rights movement, and then after that, they basically became, the quote black leaders. But basically, a lot of them were race hustlers. A lot of these guys were just living lavish lives, and they were just basically, living just like any other freaking politician. Side chicks, partying. And then it's progressively that the community got worse and worse and worse as it went along. Like, it's like, how are you still able to have a career? And literally the state of the community is worse than it's ever been. It boggles my mind. So let me put this, I'm kind of getting caught now. So let me bring in, some people. If y'all can handle it, I'm sorry if this is really negative and bringing you down. I know it's a Friday, but I got to get this off my chest. Sorry. Yeah, so there's the link. If you want to jump in. The volume should be good enough. I'm in the hallway, so. Enjoying some tea time. It's the evening right now. Sun started to settle. It's pretty beautiful outside. It's got a little breeze to it. Oh, I've been good night, sir. I'm sorry. I'm just responding to what you just put. I'm sorry that, thanks for always showing up. You're literally like the first person to chat all the time. All right, man. So I got you on. Hope the volume's pretty decent. You can start off basically giving your 2 cents. I'll let you ride with that, for like about a minute or two. You can go ahead and say your piece. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Zach. How you doing, brother?
Hey, sorry, can you say that again?
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I hear you good, man. What's
good? Okay,
hey,
how you doing?
Shout out to my homie, the man, the picture of the water, man. I'm gonna put that up there, man. Mashallah, man. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your words, man. Yeah, you can go ahead, Wolf, man. You go ahead and say your piece, man. I'll let you roll for a little bit.
Oh, man, I can understand the whole thing about, some people are afraid about, because there's this belief that, music can be a misleader, can take and lead you into like certain places it doesn't want you to go to. But that's what most people fear. That's why like everybody used to say like rock and roll was the devil's music or stuff like that. I mean, like, but I understand you understand this thing about the sense of hopelessness and whatnot. Music is a way to try to like express yourself, but a lot of people forget that during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, there was also storytelling, poetry, and of course, there's a gentleman, I forgot his name, up there, I think in the Bay Area, Hamza Yusuf. I wonder if you're familiar with him.
Oh, I love Hamza Yusuf. I was actually listening earlier today, man. It's beautiful.
Okay, I remember like when he talked about ISIS, he talked about the whole thing about they were prophesized that some people will come to mislead the folks and stuff like that. The whole thread about the Khawarij and everything.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to think about. Like, you know, he talked about, because he said like in the time of the Prophet, they said like in times of strife they would like listen to Jahili poetry because it would give them some sense of comfort. Because, you know, I think that's the problem right there. Fear. Fear leads to anger and to hate and to suffering.
It leads to the dark side.
Shouts out to Grandmaster Yoda on that.
Yeah.
Dark side.
That's real though. You know, like Star Wars with some real shit and real talk. Pardon my French, but real talk. The reason I like Star Wars so much is because it really is philosophical. Because the Sith necessarily weren't evil; they were just people that used a part of the Force for their own selfish desires. You know what I mean?
Hold on. You're Borgin, dude. You're Borgin.
Borgin? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were Borgin for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you repeat what you said?
I was just saying that's why I like Star Wars so much is because it really was philosophical, man. I know it's really influenced by George Lucas. He was Buddhist, so a lot of it is influenced by Buddhism. But the one thing I like about the Sith is as I get older, I realize the Jedi weren't as good as people made them out to be. You know, and the Sith were a reaction to that.
No, the Jedi weren't without the Jedi were not without their own shortcomings. I mean, there's a YouTube channel I check out, and they kind of diagnosed, and they were able to accurately diagnose both Kylo Ren and Anakin Skywalker with the same personality disorder. And they realized that's because like the Jedi were always fearful of the dark side, right?
Yeah.
My thing was I learned that like you cannot understand your light side without understanding your dark side, because it's a yin and yang. So you got to understand the darker side of your own nature. That way you know how to overcome it and control it and use it in a positive way. Kind of like how Mace Windu would take any negative energy that was thrown at him and use it against his enemy.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up, man. And so I think a lot about
this sense of hopelessness.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is, because the Jedi were really an elitist hierarchy that thought that they knew what was good for society. And if you actually look at the Jedi, a lot of planets that they served were basically oppressive. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of corruption. They did nothing about the corruption.
They were keepers of the peace. That's what they said they were.
Yeah, they didn't do anything about that. And you notice that they were always kind of warmongering.
They were not about politics. They were just keepers of the peace and keep the balance of the force. That's what their job was, is to keep balance of the force. Mm-hmm. So that and the force transcends all government and whatnot. They were aware that the evil and corrupt that is within politics, but it's like Mace Windu said, we are keepers of the peace, we're not soldiers. We're not soldiers for anybody.
I think it's funny that they're called the keepers of the peace, but every single Star Wars series I've ever seen, they're always initiating wars. Like they never tell like the Republic, hey, can you like not have a war for once? Like look at the Star Wars. The reason it's called Star Wars is there's constant battles. There's constantly warfare going on. And they're keepers of the peace, but there's really never truly peace. You know what I'm saying?
Wasn't it what they were defending themselves? But you know, we're going down a rabbit hole on this one, so because we're getting off topic. What I wanted to say was like, I see a point, but anyway, it's like this sense of hopelessness and everything.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about like, you know, like the cats in Europe and everything. First of all, most of them who get radicalized, it's in lockup. It's while they're incarcerated, because a lot of them, I remember 2005, France, it saw throughout the banlieue, which are what they call the suburbs. The suburbs are mostly, you know, where the housing projects are in major cities in France. In November 2005, it's going to be like 15 years this November. They had like these huge riots that were going around.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it wasn't for the last time either. That issue of integration, and then they started asking questions about integration into by immigrants into modern European society. But people forget integration is a two-way street. But that sense of hopelessness and the sense of delinquency, because there's a parallel you see in the inner cities of the states and some of the neighborhoods and some of the immigrant neighborhoods in Europe. Only thing is, it's like, instead of basketball, it's soccer mostly.
Yep.
You know, either you get like what did Biggie say?
Yeah, and it's really troubling to me. And this is honest critique. I know I'm coming from an example of privilege because I'm born in America. I have the benefit of American citizenship. America's not the best country, but sure as hell ain't the worst. But so saying this, I hope if there's anybody that's been from a refugee background, they don't get too upset with what I have to say. But one thing that I really think about is, why do people because we know what the colonizers did to us. They went to the continent, they stole a bunch of resources, they put in a bunch of oppressive regimes and stuff like that. That's why, if you look at, a lot of countries in Asia and Africa and even Latin America, why they have so much political instability is directly related to Western intervention, influence, and things like that. That being said, it really puzzles me why so many people are so hopeless that they literally go to the West and then they wonder why they're never accepted into that society. Because at the end of the day, it's only natural. Like if a bunch of white people came from the West and came to, Africa or Asia or the Middle East, they would feel the same way. Like, who are these freaking Westerners trying to change my culture? You know what I'm saying? And this is no disrespect. If you're hungry and you're desperate, of course you're going to go where you need to go. But especially when it's a bunch of young men. I can understand women and children, but if you're if you're a young man, why aren't you trying to make your country better and just fleeing to another country? And then you're going to end up complaining about, not being able to rise and have opportunities. Well, it's because they're going to make sure that you don't have that. They're going to make sure refugees don't have that, especially in Europe. Europe acts like it's so open and liberal.
Well, I can answer that question, actually.
What? Go ahead.
I can actually answer that question if you think about it. Because first of all, you have to understand, like, in your own societies, there is a level of corruption. There's a status quo. And that puts you into a certain situation. Now, a lot of young men, they have to do what they can because they understand they have the responsibility of trying to take care of the family or for their own safety or whatever. Some leave for economic reasons, others social, political, or it's war-torn. Each, whatever it is, they do what they can to get out. Because remember, because it's usually the men who have to be the providers. And they realize they have to go someplace else where they can learn trade or something like that, because so they can support their family. But sometimes they have to take those chances and go overseas in certain questionable means. Mm-hmm. And this is where misery and human trafficking take full advantage of it. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think honestly, real sorry to cut you off, but real talk, even in America, I've served my country. I've done my thing. I'm just an American. I am a melanated man, African, black man, whatever you want to call it. But I do now understand, even though we do feel like this is our country, rather if you identify as being an indigenous African, there's that whole movement where they're like, oh, well, black people have been here, blah, blah, blah. There's some truth to that. But most likely I'm from West Africa. I look at myself, dude. Every time I pass somebody from like Africa, they think I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? So most likely my ancestors came from the transatlantic slave trade, right? They're not some native person to America, right? Just being honest. So that being said, we still, at the end of the day, this is always going to be, there's an elite structure in America, right, of the top 1%, and they're always going to make sure that we're not on top. Now, we're going to be able to be billionaires. We could be. I'm sorry. Okay, so we can be billionaires.
Sorry. I'm trying to catch up with as much as what's it. I'm trying to catch up with everything you're saying, but you're Borging every once in a while.
Oh, I'm working everywhere as well. Okay, maybe it's because I'm moving my computer around. So what I'm saying is, like, we could be successful as a people,
Yeah.
but one of the reasons I really do think, I'm not one of those, quote, I don't want to stereotype myself as a Pan-Africanist or a Black back to Africa person, but I notice a lot of successful African Americans going overseas and being able to live their best life. And this is not the SYSBM stuff, or where people are going to Colombia just to get a hot female and this and that. And it's nothing like that. I mean, actually starting a life, actually starting a family, actually starting a community. Like there's guys I've seen go to Guinea, Bissau. I've seen guys go over to a lot of Ghana. I've seen guys go over to Nigeria and thrive. And now, granted, a lot of those countries do have problems, but at the same time, there isn't that crazy glass ceiling that exists in America. Like, even if you look at a lot of Black people in politics, they're sellouts. I'm going to be completely honest. Every single Black politician almost every single one that I've seen is a sellout, especially in the Democratic Party. The Republicans are no different, but they're there to keep the status quo too. You know what I mean? Kamala Harris is not some freaking Betty Shabazz or some freaking.
They are politicians first and foremost.
Yeah. She's not Angela Davis. She's not revolutionary, but people want to think her that way just because of the color of her skin. She's there to keep the status quo. If you look at her track record as a DA, it says everything. So, especially in this two-party system, I feel like the status quo is always going to be here. And it's the only thing that's going to change that is a crazy economic downfall, like the Great Depression. If that happens again, or a Vietnam War situation, because a lot of radical changes happened during the Vietnam War, if those don't happen, where every person in society is drastically affected and basically can't take it anymore, and it gets borderline revolutionary, that's the only way it's going to change in America. There's always going to be the top 1%, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, that run shit. And they're going to make sure that they're going to make sure that Black people.
But the thing is, Zachy. Zachy, hold on, man. I hear what you're saying as far as like this radical changes and everything, but you're gonna such radical changes often result in utter chaos, confusion, a lot of uncertainties, and nobody is ready to just turn things over, flip things around, knock over TVs, knock over our cars, start riots. Nobody's willing to do that right now because they know the dangers of it, especially right now.
Dude, if you look at last year, though, honestly, I disagree. If you look at last year, people were rioting over freaking George Floyd, and I'm not going to get into that. Everybody knows my opinions on that whole situation, BLM and all that stuff. But look how crazy the whole country freaking went. Like, the whole country was.
Yeah, and a lot of that I know that was for a genuine cause, but what we have right now. But if you're saying like a huge economic downturn that could bring the worst out of people, there's going to be a lot of instability that's going to come along with that. And so when you bring a radical change, sometimes it creates a lot of instability on this way to get to to whatever objective they're trying to fulfill. So there's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of fear. You can have anarchy right then and there.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the fear a lot of people have. There's a fear for that.
And you know what? I completely agree. And I think it's a lot of that to do with consumerist culture. Like, Americans, we used to be producers, but we're consumers. We're people that want to buy stuff on Amazon. We're people that want to buy a bunch of products and live lavishly as much as we can. That's the American dream. That's the American lifestyle. We used to be a nation of producers. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of agriculture. We had cities full of factories and stuff. And guess what? All that got outsourced overseas. So now we're a service-based society, right? It's consumerist, and a lot of people have white-collar jobs or strive to get degrees in white-collar jobs, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it used to be, especially the working class. The working class has been gutted in the last 20 years. Like, I don't even know how unions are still a thing. Like the completely working class, and especially in all these cities, has been.
Excuse me.
That's all good. Yeah, but what helped you? What helped you? Because I know at one point you went through a phase of like hopelessness. What helped you kind of like rise above? And I'll let that be the closing statement.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you because you're boring every once in a while. Hold on. Start from the beginning.
Yeah, maybe it's the connection here. I was saying.
Right.
I know you went through a lot of stuff, and what helped you get over your hopelessness? Hey, what's up? Hey,
well, it depends on the situation. I mean,
yeah, you can say hi. Hey, I got my friend Jessica here.
Depends on my situation. I mean, sometimes I fear. I mean, like, because.
Yeah, I'm just closing this up. Yeah.
Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, this is my friend Wolf. Yeah.
Anyways, what I'm saying is like,
I'm doing a stream right now about like anger and hopelessness and how like a lot of the youth don't really have hope for the future, and that leads to them being indoctrinated into ideologies that perpetuate violence and chaos.
Right. Wow. Okay. Cool.
Honestly, you have anything to say? Like, Ray, we already got.
Not on the spot. No. Not really. But I'm here to listen. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, but you can go on, Wolf, man. Sorry.
Oh, in my case, it's like, it's not easy for me because it's like, you sometimes like certain thoughts go into my head and when I go through really sense of hopelessness or rage. One of the things I do sometimes do is just resort to sleeping, because when I'm asleep, I'm unconscious. If I'm unconscious, I'm not, my brain isn't active. It's not processing certain thoughts. So sometimes I just sleep it off. Other times I just listen to certain music. That's that helps me, deal with it. I mean, I know we're supposed to say cope, but cope has become such a dirty word. Or I write. Yeah, I still do some songwriting once in a while, or I do video games, or just find something to humor myself. Because sometimes I find humor in my own pain. Now that's one thing right there.
Yeah,
stand-up comedy.
I actually did stand up last week, man. I was
comedy in itself is a way to overcome pain. Is a way to deal with your pain. Because pain is like Bernie Mac was to say about Richard Pryor. He talked about his pain, about his life. Because pain is where comedy is. The true humor is in your pain. I mean, take a lot of Jewish comedians. They talk about like what they've had to endure, and they found humor in all of it. How they were able to overcome it.
Yeah. Yeah, the best comedians, in my opinion, are always.
There are Muslims who find. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure in the Muslim community, among Muslims, there are great comics as well. It's just that, but it's just like in the Arab world, like especially like if you go to Egypt, some of the great comics were from Egypt, because Egyptian cinema has dominated most of the Middle East, and they were able to, despite the censorship they were dealing with, they were able to really address certain issues as best as they could. Like I remember there was a clip I remember a friend of mine showed me. It was the great Egyptian comic Adil Imam. One scene, he's sitting there, right, and there's these moms, these like radicalized moms. They're strapping him up for a bomb and everything. And they say, "So you ready? Ready for what? You're about to do your mission. What kind of mission are we talking here? For Allah." And he just starts asking, "What? Okay, if I put this, if I put this on, where would I go? When do I go?" He says, "You go up with the Almighty." I said, "What's up there? What's there? What's the point?" He is basically challenging them. Now, right there, that's the question right there. That's the problem. That's the problem right there. No one is allowed to question certain things, because to question means you are challenging, and they think of you more of a threat or a nuisance. That's why in traditional societies, the religious leaders were held in high esteem.
Yeah.
But sometimes that position gets abused, and some people are saying, you better take what you better do as you're told. But if you ask a question, they look at you like, what is wrong with this child? I mean, this is why Jesus, God, may the Almighty uphold him, all of his blessings and whatnot, and with then some. He did the parable of the farmer and the seeds, and then his disciples looked at him and said, Lord, why do you speak in parables? Because I want to see who was paying attention. That is why. And since you asked, you get your answer. Ask and you shall receive.
Yep.
So as far as this radicalization, it's rage when you come to radicalization, not just Islamic. You also have far right, nationalists, white nationalists and whatnot. They target young men mostly, but young women as well, when they are completely vulnerable, they're confused, and they're looking for acceptance.
Yeah, exactly.
No different than when it's no different like crime families, because they're introducing you to an ideology of hate.
Mm-hmm. And
everything becomes bastardized. So it's like, I remember there was
I was gonna say I was gonna say that was a good closing statement. I got some. I got a guess and stuff like that. So I was gonna kind of just keep it under like an hour. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
Hey, I don't want to bum you out, man. Hey, I love hearing what you have to say.
Ideology.
I'm not trying to cut you off intentionally, by the way.
No, I understand. If we got to cut this short, that's understandable.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the streams in general, like a little shorter, around like half an hour, short and sweet, because it seems like I get like more people that come in, because like when I go for an hour, like it would just be me and you at the end of it, and then just nobody else comes through, you know what I mean? So I need to just basically finesse to be able to catch people's attention spans for longer periods of time. And I think a lot of guys do with video editing. I need to actually like learn how to edit videos, add content, videos and stuff like that, you know?
I understand. Okay.
Hey man, thank you so much
for coming on. It's always good to hear from you, dude. Just like sometimes you gotta come out here and just support my brother as best I can.
Yeah, likewise, man. If you're ever looking for me on Instagram, my Instagram is the same as my YouTube name, Dunya.
No, but I don't use Instagram. I stayed away from Instagram purposely.
I did for a long period of time too. I'm just trying to get more out of an audience and try to use it as a platform, you know.
My reason is my reason for not using it is because I remember when I was watching like a news channel, business news, it was a segment they had. It was when Facebook purchased Instagram, and I remember the reporter mentioned that that Facebook in the process of acquiring Instagram, they told all the users and future users that any pictures that you post up can be used by Facebook for advertisements without your consent. They do not recognize intellectual property. I guess that's part of the terms and conditions. I was like, I don't want this. And I already saw the narcissism that was coming out of it.
Yeah, man. I feel you. So that being said, brother.
By the way, I will say this though. By the way, I just want to say this. You look good as you are. I don't know, growing a beard. I don't know if it will work for you. I mean, a beard isn't for everybody. I mean, there's some of us who can't grow beards, you know.
Yeah,
and you know, in Islam there's a level of flexibility about that. So they said like, if you can't grow a beard, just shave it off.
Yeah, I'll try my best, man. I'm trying to get one.
Just work with what you got.
Yeah, exactly, man. But hey, man, I gotta cut this off, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming through, brother.
All right.
Yeah, have a good night. Hey, and nicer, yeah, my pick. I got it with me, but my hair. I just got hair. My hair is not long enough. All right, man. Take care, Wolf, man. I'll see you on the
And
next
no,
one.
brother. Allahu Mak.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Didn't catch that. All right. Bye-bye. Y'all have a good one.